Aquarius in the 11th house, composite Pluto. So what I'm going to do is just run through something that a little bit of knowledge on Pluto so that you understand what it's about. And it's from Robert Hand, and it's really useful to know this about Pluto, because in evolutionary astrology, what we're doing is taking Pluto and the North Node and the South Node, and we integrate then the whole chart. But Pluto being soul, and composite Pluto also, Pluto is the planet of death and regeneration in the composite chart. It represents those energies that cause a relationship to go through periods of heavy change. When Pluto is operative, something goes out of existence and a new order comes into being. The action is absolutely essential to prevent stagnation that occurs when an old way of life has outlived its purpose. So we know that, generally that, we could have a job or a relationship and they start one way and then they sort of get to a point where maybe stagnation kicks in, and then we have to freshen it up and some change needs to take place. We don't do, even with a car, we might buy a new car and after so many years, it's going to fall to bits and we have to get a new one. So as an example, the old must be cleared away to make room for the new state of being that will follow. So this doesn't mean that, it can mean transformation. It's not the end of everything. So don't be scared by Pluto, that's for sure. So the old must be cleared away to make room for the new state of being that will follow. When dealing with Pluto, you must let go of whatever is going through the Plutonian crisis. If you try to hold on to something that is properly dead, you will not succeed in saving it, and you will only make the situation worse. So it's like if you're in a job and it's dead end and it's not going anywhere, it's better to release it, rather than hold on to something that's not working anymore. That's the point that, we're trying to make an understanding Pluto. Pluto operates with such tremendous power that it may be divorced from its death and regeneration aspect and be experienced as purely power. Now we got to remember that power is, we can have healthy, life-giving power, or we can have power that, demeans life. So we've got to, again, look at closely of how we're playing with this and how it plays out. It says the power results from the inevitability of Pluto's transforming qualities. The transformation wrought by Pluto are those that arise from the very nature of what is transformed. So if you think of a butterfly, for instance, or a caterpillar, it goes into the cocoon, and then it's got that huge struggle to get out of the cocoon to spread its wings and become a butterfly. And Pluto, we can see it in the same way. The transformations ruled by Pluto, again, are those that arise from the very nature of what is transformed. Its effect is as much an integral part of an entity as an object's weight, size and color. Every living thing contains the set of circumstances that will eventually bring about all fundamental changes, including its death. The power of Pluto comes from within. So now what I'm going to do is share a slide with you, slideshow, and so you understand it a bit deeper in a composite chart. We've got the house and sign where Pluto, composite Pluto resides, shows us the evolutionary intention and the prior life desires. So when we look at an astrology chart, we'll be able to see that, like reading a chart. If you can't see it yourself, then, I help people do that, to understand your relationships, so to speak, and your own chart as well. The next thing is it shows us where the relationship left off, and then the polarity point shows us the way forward to resolve any karmic issues. So karmic doesn't mean something bad, it's just that we're trying to resolve something in ourselves and in our own lives to, tie up loose ends as we keep evolving and transforming. Then we've got the north and south nodes, and we want to look at the location of the rulers. And then the next thing to know is the intention of the relationship will be seen in the polarity point of Pluto and the house and sign it resides in. Here we can also understand the reason the relationship is taking place. So if you want to dig deeper on them, the composite Pluto, you can get Pluto, the soul's evolution through relationships, and that's volume 2, Jeffrey Wolfe Green. So, do know that you can get that book on Amazon. So now I'm going to show you my chart, and this chart's dated the 30th of December, you can see there. And what we have is that you can see my Pluto. If you don't know what Pluto looks like on your chart, it's Pluto with a P, and mine is conjunct Uranus, and it's on my MC. It's got a 5-degree orb there. So you can see where that is, and the transit for me at the moment is in my second house. And the reason that, you know, it moves very slowly, it's not a reason, but it moves, you know, from my date of birth here, which you can see up there, 1966, you can see that it's taken, you know, to now to get to the second house, and Pluto takes 245 years to move around the chart. So, you know, it's worth knowing that too. Then what you have is that this chart here is a friend of mine with my chart, and it becomes a composite chart. So two, you know, places, date, time, and place of birth, date, time, and place of birth, put those together into astro.com, and then you can bring up this chart. But the time is really important if you want, you know, to be spot on with what you're working with. So you can see the Pluto Uranus there. And then what we would do is to look at the development of this relationship, friendship, or whatever it is. We would say that we've got the North Node in Gemini, and we would look for the ruler, and the ruler is Mercury. And then we've got the South Node is in Sagittarius, and the ruler is Jupiter. So then we just dig deeper, and we also then integrate the chart and then look at transits on that as well. So it can be really fascinating to understand and heal relationships as well, you know, if you've got problems, or if there are dynamics where we're not resonating, to understand why. And, you know, we're not meant to have a relationship with everybody we come into contact with. And this applies to, you know, work colleagues, it can apply to all sorts of relationships, but also if you have a child, you can look at your, you know, how you resonate and what's going on in relationships with your own family members, as an example. So the next slide is Composite Pluto 11th house. And now I'm going to read to you what that will mean for you if you have this with them in a friendship or anybody that you know their time of birth that you're doing this on. So here it's about learning to stand back from one another and the immediacy of others' reality and emotional and psychological world to become objective. So if you've got a friend that you have this with, you know, it's about standing back and getting objective. Meetings come through groups with a shared purpose or through working together, and it can have a special social function. Here it's about helping each other objectify, to disengage and detach from the other and become liberated. So when you get into these friendships or whatever, it's about liberation ultimately. It can also be about rebelling against conditions. You might join in with a friend and you're rebelling against something together. Here it's also finding understanding through one another. So as you know, we talk and we integrate with people, we find understanding with regard to our lives by, you know, conversing and verbalizing our feelings, etc. Often here, this is in, you know, it says in the Pluto book as well, no existing relationship or from friends to intimacy. So it can be, you know, causing separation due to enmeshment. So, you know, if you get over enmeshment in this, it can cause issues. There can be desires and promises to help one another, common goals, but the ultimate is to detach and to objectify. Now, if you have this, you're going to then want to go to the polarity point, which is going to be Pluto, polarity point, 5th house or Leo. And the context would have been defined in previous lives. And of course, we don't always know that, but by looking at a chart, we can have some idea what it means. So it can be where you've become friends, friends to lovers, and too much dependency. So you might have started off as friends, become lovers, and there's too much dependency. So the intimacy or whatever's going on just ends. Here we've got to learn to take charge of self and one's direction, to validate self and become self-sustained. So it's about moving away from codependency and becoming individuated with this. Here it's about acting on thoughts that reflect who they actually are inwardly, to raise the vibration, attracting others with like minds. And it's about nourishment for development, so to develop as a human being. And it's learning who one's real friends are. So together, it's like really looking to see, you know, who's on our team and who's not on our team, if you want to look at it that way. Integration with others, new ideas, values and ideals to transform society. That can come up in this as well, where you're working together to transform society and helping others to become aware of conditioning and to become liberated. So the next slide is something from Jeff Wolfe Green, Volume 1, which you can also get on Amazon. And this is from page 346. And here he explains, it says, the need to merge with the source, the universal, requires that the individual leaps into the abyss with faith, so that all barriers preventing this conscious union can be dissolved. Yet this evolutionary need is commonly met with resistance and fear. Just as the wave can resist turning to the sea for a time, so too does the egocentric identification with the individual resist, surrendering to the cosmic ocean or being from which he or she originated. So we can, allow fear to step in and not step forward in the way, and we can, that egoic structure that we have, wanting to be safe and secure. And we need to break free from that in order to, go into the abyss and really find out who we are. So the next slide, I love Carl Gustav Jung's work. I read a lot of his material, and I started doing that a few years ago, and it's really helped me to develop my own sense of self and understand individuation and the anima and the animus, the male and female aspects inside of us, and the emotional states and things we get into that can hold us back. And he said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So Pluto in many ways represents that to me, because the deeper we look into things, Pluto is to do with our subconscious, what's not seen, it's what's below the surface. And then we can think things are just happening to us. Whereas when we dig deeper, we begin to have, flashes of light bulb moments, and we can begin to direct our lives better. Also, what you resist not only persists, but it will grow in size. So that's it. If you want me to look at your chart and you're not sure, you can always contact me for a free 15-minute consultation to have a chat, and I'm happy to do that. And if you'd like to go further after that, you can let me know. But that's something I do. You can check that out on my Facebook page, and there's a link for a 15-minute booking session to dig a little bit deeper to understand, and also to find out whether you have your birth time, prior to doing something like this. And that's it. And the next one I'll be doing is finally Pisces, composite Pisces in the 12th house. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.